Hello everyone and welcome to the Tank Club. Today we're going to be having a quick look at one of the new monster sets with the Awakened Flame patch, the Magma Incarnate monster set. And this is a very good looking tank monster set for 4-person content. Now there are some people saying that this is a healer monster set, it should be used by the healers. That is not the case because it actually procs on self-healing. So it's actually really good for tanks. It's probably a best in slot monster set in terms of 4-person content. So we're going to take a little look at it and I'm going to tell you about what sort of things you need to use to proc it. So here we go. The Magma Incarnate monster set comes from the Dread Cellar on Veteran. And it's quite nice. So the 1-piece gives us Magicka recovery and stamina recovery. The 2-piece, when you heal yourself or a group member with a single target heal ability, grant the lowest health group member within 28 meters minor courage and minor resolve, increasing their weapon and spell damage by 215 and armor by 2,974 for 10 seconds. Daedric energy will then bounce to a nearby group member within 8 meters up to 3 times, applying minor courage and minor resolve for 10 seconds. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. So what this means is when you heal yourself, you're going to provide your group with minor courage. Now the way that this works in dungeon content, so when you look at my dungeon tank build, we've got a number of different gear sets that you can utilize for 4-person content to optimize and perform really well. Now this monster set for 4-person content is far superior than another set like Incarnate. So Incarnate only provides a small amount of DPS gain. Now the reason why Incarnate is best in slot for trials is because in a trial situation you've got a lot more people, and Magma Incarnate is not good for trials. It's only good for dungeons and arenas. So the reason why it's good for dungeons and arenas is because Drake's Rush, for example, is better than Yolnahkrin. The buff that you get from Drake's Rush, if you're in an organised group and you're giving everybody ulti gain, that actually provides a bigger DPS increase than minor courage. So now you're able to give something like Drake's Rush, or Powerful Assault on the body pieces, or something similar to those gear sets. But then you can also get minor courage additionally by slotting that on the monster set. So minor courage with a 5-second cooldown and a 10-second uptime is going to provide around a 2% DPS increase, which is better than Incarnate. Now, the main thing to note about this gear set is it procs on self-healing, not overhealing. So if you're at full health, it won't proc. It doesn't do anything. If you lose some health, you have to physically heal yourself. You'll see the proc when we go red. You see the little red glow around our character. And now we've got kind of a red glow on the character. That is the Magma Incarnate set. You can also see from your character sheet, you've obviously got the minor courage there and the minor resolve. That's the proc from the Magma set. And there are a number of different ways to proc this. So if we go down the list of all the things that proc it. So number 1, a really important one, the Master Weapons, the Puncturing Remedy set, the Master One-Hand and Shield. That procs Magma Incarnate. That's really important to know. And the reason why that's so good is because obviously as part of a dungeon setup, if you're running a 1-bar set, Yolnahkrin, Drake's Rush, PA or Olorim, those are all a 1-bar setup. You can run them on the back bar. So then on the front bar you can use Master Weapons, and Master Weapons would also proc Magma Incarnate. So it works really well, the fact that that procs 2 things. You're going to get a self-heal and you're going to get a proc of Magma. All classes can use Resolving Vigor. So if you're using Powerful Assault, you can use Resolving Vigor. As long as you're missing health, you cast your Resolving Vigor, that's going to proc it. If you're on a Dragon Knight, Green Dragonblood procs it. A Necro, Hungry Scythe. On a Nightblade, you've got Dark Cloak. Sorcerer tank would use Clan Fear. Templar tank would use Restoring Focus. And then finally, the Warden tank would use Polar Wind. These are all tried and tested. So even though Polar Wind is not a single target heal, essentially, it is because it heals you as a single target and it heals an additional person as a single target heal. So if you heal yourself or somebody else with Polar Wind, it's going to proc Magma. So every single class of tank can use this monster set really easily as a tank because you just heal yourself. Now, what happens is when you are missing health, you heal yourself, you can then see a kind of orb that hits from you to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. You can see it move to each person, and that is it jumping between people. So your group ideally want to stay close to you. So this could be difficult to use in pickup groups if you're just using the queue to get into dungeon content. Maybe not a good option because if people are really spread out, they're not going to get the proc. They need to be fairly close with the Magma set. In terms of organised groups, obviously you can guide people if you're on voice comms, nice and easy. Everyone's stacking close, you hit your heal, it procs Magma, and there you go. And like I say, the reason this is so strong is because now you can incorporate you could incorporate Minor Courage with Magma, Major Courage with Olorim, Powerful Assault as well. You're giving your group an absolute huge amount of weapon and spell damage. If you want to include Drake's Rush, now you don't need to use Yolnahkrin at all. Not for 4-person content. Yolnahkrin is still the best set in the game for tanking generally and for trial content, but if you want to kind of optimize your build in other areas and maybe you run with good groups, then using something like Drake's Rush Body, if you still want to use a heavy set, use Drake's Rush. Combine that with PA or Olorim, or sometimes even something like War Machine or Master Architect if you're in a really, really good group that have got really high damage and can burn bosses, and then you can still provide that Minor Courage on the monster set. And like I say, this is just slightly better than Incarnate, because Incarnate is the best monster set for trials, for Magicka groups, but in terms of 4-person content, it's got a really, really low damage increase. It's one of the only damage increase in monster sets for tanks, which is why Incarnate is so good, but Magma is just that little bit better. Even though it has a downtime, it's very, very good. So guys, that is the Magma Incarnate monster set. It's definitely my first choice for dungeon content now. As I mentioned before, it procs on actual healing. It doesn't proc on overhealing. You cannot proc it if you are at full health. You have to heal yourself when you've lost some health, and then it will proc it. And it'll bounce between your group members. Very, very good monster set. If I was to give this a rating out of 5, for dungeon content or arena content, it's definitely a 5 out of 5 because it is the best monster set. The only time you maybe wouldn't use it is if you need to use something like Tremor Scale for a stamina group. Otherwise, it is absolutely the best monster set currently for tanks in 4-person content. In terms of trial content, it would be a 0 out of 5 because it cannot compete with the usefulness of Yolnahkrin. Yolnahkrin procs on an entire group, very easily maintained. It's not good for trial content, but it is absolutely the best for 4-person content. And that is everything, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.